And ano, diba? So, ano so, ano yung component, in component form, ano yung magiging components ng tension, normal force, at gravitational force along X and Y? So, isulat mo lahat ng forces in component form. Or in terms of I and J. So, I should be in the direction of the x-axis. Tapos ang ano niyan, so para ma-distinguish, N, tapos maglagay ka ng arrow sign over N para alam natin na we're talking about the vector. So for example, yung N vector is equal to, so let's look at each of the forces. Or hindi, magsimula tayo sa tension. T vector is equal to T. So anong along X, diba? So that's going to be T times I hat. So magnitude T times I hat. So we don't know what the tension is yet. Okay, ngayon yung normal force. So walang component along Y, di ba? So kaya ganyan lang yan. Yung normal force, yung N. So N vector is so we're not going to, wala pang ano yan ha. So unknown pa yung value ng normal force. It's actually something na we'll calculate. So N vector is equal to N. Tapos anong direction? So below that. So N vector. Yung vector sign sa taas. So N times, teka, tingnan mo yung direction ng vector na N. So N J hat lang. So it's directly along Y. Ngayon, yung gravitational force naman. So yung F grav vector is equal to, so
Hindi ba po mag-cause ng confusion?
bakit?
Sige.
So F tapos subscript gravitational grav.
Okay. So why not ano po? Why not parang G vector?
So ano yung I at saka J components?
Yes.
Teka, so tingnan natin. Mg is positive. From your figure, theta is positive. So mg cosine theta. So positive yan. So dapat ang direction along I hat, if you write it that way, will be upward. Tama ba?
Okay. So negative D.
So negative dapat yung I component. Ano pa?
Negative din po yung G.
Okay, so are there any other forces? So may force from the floor, yung normal. May tension which comes from the cord or the rope. Tapos may gravitational force. So aside from that, mukhang wala nang iba, no?
1, 2, 3. Wala na po.
Okay, ngayon, what do we know? Nag-accelerate ba yung block na yan?
No. Or is it?
Okay,
No.
so if it's not accelerating, ano yung net force?
Zero po. Net force.
So, dapat yung sum ng lahat ng forces, F net vector. Kasi two-dimensional problem na yan eh. So, may vector sign sa taas. Magnitude lang yan. So, pakilagyan ng arrow symbol sa ibabaw ng F net. Hindi, use it mo, F net. Kung walang vector sign yan, you're only talking about the magnitude. So, lagyan mo ng arrow symbol yung sa taas ng F net.
So,
Teka. Walang arrow symbol. F net should
kailangan
have an arrow symbol yan. Kasi, pag hindi nakalagay yan, ang ibig sabihin ng F net without the arrow symbol is magnitude. Which is not a vector. Yung zero na yan, it's understood that that's the zero vector. Okay, so ngayon, gamitin mo yung F net is zero at saka yung known na forces to write down an equation in components. Okay, so T plus F rev plus N is equal to 0. So what does that give you? Okay. Ngayon, this is a vector equation. What if, di ba yung equation na yan can be written as two separate equations, one for x, one for y. So write down those two equations. So the sum of the x components should be 0. The sum of the y components should be 0.
So, pero ang dami pong meron pong 8.5 hanggang 13. Wala na. Ang dami
So
pong
ang ano dyan ay, so lahat yung x components, ano-ano? So 0 equals,
okay, given. Dalawa pong unknown.
teka, pag 0 yung vector, anong masasabi mo about the components? So if the, ano yan eh, kapag may vector equation ka, kaya mo siyang isulat as two equations. One for x, one for y.
Okay, so,
Okay, remember, yung left-hand side is the 0 vector. Hindi siya yung 0 na ordinary number lang. Ang components ng 0 vector ay 0 times I hat plus 0 times j hat. Kaya ako sinasayang two equations yan. Kasi the 0, 0 vector is equal to what vector, ano naman yan. So, those can be written as two separate equations.
okay. So, Paano po malalaman yung TNN po, di ko alam eh. So,
Teka. Kaya nga ano yan eh. Sulat mo yan as two separate equations.
okay.
So the x component is, so 0 is equal to remember, components lang. Yung x, lahat ng x equals lahat ng x sa kabila. So wala nang I hat. That's going to be equal to 0. Ngayon, yung y component naman, that's also going to be 0. Ngayon, ano yung, i-highlight mo yung mga given.
Given.
So use highlighter, tapos paki-highlight lahat ng given dyan sa equation na yan. Sa dalawang equations na yan.
So, 8.5 and 30. So, T minus.
Ano yung 8.5? Pwedeng wag ka muna mag-substitute.
Mas po no, ito.
So, anong nangyari sa G? Units din. Don't forget the units.
Ano pa yung, meters per second per okay.
Okay. And then, what's the other equation?
Time.
Okay, ngayon, from there, mo-compute mo na ba yung tension at saka yung normal force?
Yes. So, 2 equals 0.5.
So, 8.5 times 9.8 times cosine 30. So 72.13, or dahil dalawang significant figures lang yung given, that should be rounded off to 72 and so 72 newtons and ano naman yung magnitude ng normal force.
normal force and the force by the magnitude of the slope of the acceleration.
Teka, hindi pa tayo tapos sa B. Sa A at B. Round off.
Oh, saan? Two significant figures.
Okay, so alam na natin yung tension at saka yung normal force. So tension is the force by the rope. Normal force is the force from the floor or from the frictionless surface. Okay, ngayon, yung paano magbabago yung free body diagram kapag pinutol mo yung cord? Yun yung ano eh. Kasi pag pinutol mo yung cord, iba na yung forces. So draw the free body diagram and then set up yung Newton's second law.
So all of the all forces acting on it. And
so pag pinutol mo yung cord, wala na yung force from the cord. So ano yung MAX? Ano yung MAX? Ano yung MAY? Okay, so ano yung net force kapag wala ng cord? Ano yung net force along X? Ano yung net force along Y? Kaya pwedeng paki-identify yung mga forces. Anong forces yan? Don't give me the numbers. So yung Fnet dapat may vector sign din kasi, di ba? Okay, so normal force plus gravitational force. Ngayon, ano yung, what do we expect? What's the acceleration along Y? So for this situation, ano yung acceleration along Y? Components. Hindi pwede, vectors yan, kaya importante yung components.
along Y.
So M times AY is I think mas magsimula mo talaga sa m times ay. Mamaya mo na gawin yung algebra na mag-divide. So m times ay, kasi yan yung Newton's second law. So F net along y is m times acceleration along y. That's equal to what? Lagyan mo na subscript na F net, comma y. Kasi magulo yan We're looking at the y component of the net force. Tapos think about what is going to carry over from the first situation, yung may tension, and what's not going to carry over. So what's anong role ng tension dyan?
Wala na po. Tinanggal na po siya.
Hindi, kapag yung sa part A and B, anong role ng tension?
Stopping the block from going along the x-axis po.
Okay. Ano naman yung role ng normal force?
Normal is stopping it from going down the y-axis.
Okay. So ngayong pinutol mo yung cord, ano yung change? Will it go down along the y-axis?
Yes, a little more.
Why
Like directly down po, no?
No. Walang component of motion along y. It's only going to slide along x. So what do you know about acceleration along y? So what should the acceleration along y be? So the floor or the inclined surface is preventing the block from moving along y, which means acceleration along y is
0. No. Okay, that was genius. Oh, okay. So F net is actually Fx.
ngayon, ano yung forces acting along x sa situation sa part C? Makidrawing ng free body diagram for that situation. Kasi kaya nakalito kasi wala kang free body diagram So, free body diagram for go.
Wala na po.
Yan, yung diagram mo may rope. Paano pag wala? Ano yung issue ng free body diagram mo?
Let me just copy this. Now, yeah.
Okay, so dalawa lang yung forces, no? Normal at saka yung gravitational. Doesn't accelerate along y. So, makukuha mo uli yung relationship na normal force is equal to mg cosine theta. What about yung sa y? Ano yung net force along x?
Net force along
Using
x. Mga ganito mo.
So F net along X is, wag mo sama yung net force dyan, ha? So ano yung, wait, is N along X?
Oo. Ano lang yung MMG component of X. X component.
Teka, ano direction yan?
Ayan. Okay na po siguro.
Ayan. So wala na, no? So ano yung mass times acceleration along X? Or, if you simplify that, ano yan? So may cancellations na mangyayari. So lahat ng pwede mag-cancel muna, i-cancel mo. So AX is symbols muna. Kasi maganda makita mo siya. So negative 9.8 units. Okay, so wait, bakit newtons yung acceleration? So walang units yung cosine 30 meter per second square. So dapat, yun lang. Di ba? Okay. Ngayon, palitan natin yung, i-modify natin ng konti yung problem. So para lang makita mo yung variations. Kaya kopyahin ko lang. Tapos this time, so same diagram, same masses. So let me paste this first and then share ko yung screen ko. Paano kung ganito yung situation? What if, aside from yung chord, so may chord, may inclined plane, you have a force applied along this na equal sa 10 newtons. How do your answers change sa A and B?
Di ba pala po kayo nakashare pa?
Sorry, ito.
So
Okay,
parang
so
nagre-resist po sa kanya.
so something is pushing it in addition. Tapos ang force na yun ay 10 newtons. So how do your answers in A and B change? So yung F applied is parallel to the plane,
So like,
to the
ano po,
inclined.
nasa X po siya.
Uh, so how do your answers in A and B change? So screenshot ko lang. Teka, now, pinadala ko yung yung additional questions, D and E.
Sige po.
Teka, yung A and B yun yung, so ibig sabihin may chord pa rin tayo. Teka. Hindi pa pwede yan kasi remember, we still have the chord. So may chord. So hindi putol yung chord. So ano yung F net along X, ano yung F net along Y? Plus the tension. Okay. So kung wala yung applied force, yung tension ay 72. Ngayong may applied force na, paano anong mangyayari sa tension?
Hmm.
So isipin mo, may nag-a-assist na ngayon sa rope. Yung assistance ay 10 newtons. Ano yung response ng rope? Or ng cord?
Eh,
Okay. So 10 newtons minus mg cosine theta plus. So kung kanina 72 newtons yung force na kailangan ng rope para hindi siya mag-slide up or down, what do you think ano sa tingin mo mangyayari kapag may 10 newtons na applied? So isipin mo, ikaw yung rope. You're pulling the object up so that it doesn't slide downward. Tapos may assistance na 10 newtons. What will happen?
Magano po siya? Baka siguro pag ganun na po yung ano niya, motion.
Teka. Teka. Yung tension kanina, may assumption tayo na walang assistance. Pag may assistance, ano sa tingin mo yung gagawin nung rope? Will it still be pulling with that force?
Maybe not.
Mm-hmm. So, if you work with real ropes or real thread, tapos isipin mo, imagine mo yung situation na yan.
Parang gaganon to po.
Anong mangyayari?
Parang magaganon na po sila.
Hindi, dulong-du yan kapag may critical value ng applied force. Pero habang hindi pa, so kapag maliit lang yung applied force na ina-apply mo, anong mangyayari sa tension?
Bababa po.
Bababa. So for example, dito, pag may 10 newtons na applied, ano yung ini-expect nating mangyari sa tension? The tension becomes... So pag walang applied force, it's 72. Eh ngayon, may 10 newtons.
Okay. So, mga siguro 62.
Okay, so
Yes.
magiging 62 yung tension. Okay, so ano yung condition dyan? How does it become 62?
Parang kinocompensate na po yung push force.
Okay, pero paano natin makukuha? How do we get that? Ano yung condition na dapat nating impose? Okay, ganito. Assuming 10 newtons yung force, tapos 72 kapag wala yan. What can you say about the acceleration along x?
Acceleration along x. Oh.
So will the object accelerate along x?
No.
No. So condition yan. Mass times acceleration along x is 0. So F net along x should be 0. Yung physical situation dictates na that whole thing is 0. And then from there, you should be able to solve for the tension. So tension is, so that's equal to 0. F net x is 0. So paisulat. Teka, are you talking about the vector F net, the magnitude of F net, or the x and y component? Okay, so F net is 0. So equilibrium pa rin siya. Therefore, teka, gawa kang separate equation kasi vector equation yan. What we're looking for is an equation involving components lang. So F net x is 0. So ano yung conclusion natin?
From new page.
Therefore, tapos since wala, yung symbol mo pwede ng M na lang instead of M sub M. Kasi clear naman na yung isa lang naman yung mass na involved Okay, so therefore, the tension is, don't substitute, just set up the equation. Kasi we're looking for a pattern. Minus 10. Tapos, what about yung normal force? What can you conclude? So, okay. Yung sa normal force, I think para clear yung notation natin, lagyan mo ng subscript na F, N sub F, para hindi na ako confused for newtons. So, everywhere na may normal force, sulat mo as N sub F. So, N sub F is equal to mg sine theta. So, may change ba? So, compared sa original situation, pag may applied force, anong mangyayari?
Mababawasan po siya dito. mg cos
So,
theta
mababawasan yung tension. Okay, so ngayon, yung next na situation ay, what if iwan mo lang na F applied? So, iwan mo sa variable yung F applied. Ano yung magiging expression for the tension?
brown out po.
Gano'ng mahaba mo ba yung battery?
Baba po po.
Sige.
Ano ba yung mass?
8 kilograms, di ba? 8.5. Teka, huwag ka muna mag-substitute. So, next, kasi ang gagawin natin ngayon ay yung next situation na, tingnan mo yung question. Yung letter E. So, we're now looking at letter E. So, write an expression for the tension in terms of F applied. Assuming F applied is not given, but is less than 72. And then we'll talk about bakit less than 72 lang. So, part
Maybe
E.
sa
So, free body diagram, and then yung equations. Tapos hindi na siya 10 newtons, no? Kundi F applied na lang. So, leave it as a variable. So, and then we're assuming here na equilibrium pa rin. So, accelerations along X and Y are still 0. Okay. So, graph. So, paki-sketch ng graph ng tension versus F applied. So, F applied yung x-axis, tension is yung sa y. Tapos, make sure na may scale. Baba pa. Para mas malaki yung space.
Or na po, tong X.
Oo. Pwedeng i-center mo yung y-axis somewhere sa gitna, hindi dyan. Kasi gusto ko rin pag-usapan natin, paano kung F applied is negative? Ano ibig sabihin nun?
So parang
Okay, so
babaliktad po. You're pushing it there or you're pulling it.
you're pulling, so instead of pushing, di ba, pag F applied is negative, you're pulling in the other direction. Okay, so ngayon, sketch the graph. So when F applied is 0, ano dapat yung tension?
MG cos, ano po? Ano yun? Yung MG cos, okay. So ito, 72 newtons.
Okay.
Okay. Ito pala yung 72 newtons. Okay po. So, tension is 72. Sige, lagyan natin ito na. Let's say ito yung 72 point.
Tapos i-label mo yung scale na yung sa y-axis, yung x-axis may label sa side na F applied, so F applied axis and the tension axis. So yan, that's going to be the t-axis, and then yung x-axis is the F applied axis. Okay. Ngayon, what happens kapag F applied is equal to 72.1? Ano mangyayari sa tension?
0.
So, okay. So ngayon, ano graph? Bakit curve?
Bakit? Ano po siya? Diretso lang.
Tingnan mo yung equation mo.
Okay. Line lang pala siya.
Line lang siya. Okay. Ngayon, paano kung ang F applied ay less than 0? Anong mangyayari sa tension?
So, 72 more than. Dito siya.
So, mag-extend yung line, di ba?
Ano?
So, paki-extend lang yung line. So, same slope, pero magne-negative. So, the tension must increase. Okay. Ngayon, if you're dealing with a realistic rope, anong mangyayari? At some point,
Stop po.
At some point, if F applied becomes more and more negative, what will happen?
Patas na patas pa yung tension.
Remember, realistic chord. Taasan mo ng taasan ng tension.
Mag-snap po yung rope.
Magsa-snap. So, ibig sabihin, itong graph natin, up to kung hanggang saan lang yung kaya ng rope, which we haven't established kasi wala sa given eh. Okay. Now, what happens if F applied is greater than 72.1?
Bumaba po yung ano. Wait lang. Tumas po lalo. So,
Teka, F applied is greater than.
Opo. So, 72.1 to. Minus more than 72.1. So, negative.
Okay. Ngayon, kung negative yan,
Okay.
let's see. Kung negative yung tension, ano ginagawa ng rope?
It's stopping you from pushing it
Ganito.
further.
The rope for T between 0 and 72.1, the rope is pulling up. Pag nag-negative, ano direction ng force from the rope?
Pulling down.
Hindi siya, it can't be pulling down. Tingnan mo yung arrangement ng rope.
Pushing up.
So the rope is pushing in what direction?
Pushing up po.
Teka, hindi pwedeng pushing. Tingnan mo, drawing mo yung pag negative yung yung tension, ano direction yan sa free body diagram? So,
pushing down.
So pushing down. Can the rope push downwards?
No. Hindi naman po siya.
No.
It's more of a tensile po.
So the rope can pull, but it cannot push.
So it becomes like unrealistic pag mababa na po.
Oo. So ano yung action na mangyayari? So kung F applied is greater than 72.1, what happens to the tension?
It stops. Hindi na po siya it stops pulling.
So if it stops pulling, ano value ng tension pag ganun?
0 na dapat po siya.
So paki-graph.
Okay, try ko po ng ibang kulay. Okay.
And then, teka, hindi included yan, di ba? Okay. So yung actual na included, yung solid red line. Ngayon, if F applied is greater than 72 newtons, ano acceleration, ano yung magiging acceleration ng object? So
if
for F applied
is...
greater than 72, so if F applied is greater than 72.1, what's the acceleration along X?
What's the acceleration? So 0 na yung F. And then mass is okay. So acceleration is 0. Wala na po force.
Ganito. Remember, ano yung forces? So Newton's second law says mass times acceleration along X is
equal to net force.
F applied
Okay.
minus mg cosine theta plus tension. So ngayon, tingnan mo mangyayari kapag F applied is greater than, let's say, 80 newtons. So m times a sub x Teka, hindi mo pwedeng i-assume na 0 yan. Ang alam nating 0 ay yung tension.
Okay.
Ano ang forces?
0 na yan. 0.
So F applied. Teka, yung F applied hindi 0. Greater than 72.1.
2.1. And then 0.
0 yung tension.
So equals F net.
Okay, so example, let F applied be equal to 80 newtons. Para lang makita mo yung acceleration. So F applied becomes 80 minus 72.1 newtons divided by 8.5 kilos. So, hindi 0 ang acceleration. So, hindi mo pwedeng i-assume na kapag ang applied force ay greater than 72.10 acceleration na. It's reasonable kapag less than 72.1. Pero pag lumagpas ka na dun sa critical value, yan yung magiging graph ng tension. So tension becomes 0 and the acceleration. So yung graph acceleration as a function of applied force. So anong magiging shape nun? So A sub x is equal to... So set up mo muna yung equation. A sub x is equal to... Hindi, huwag ka muna mag-graph. Set up mo muna yung equation. Tapos unknown yung f applied. So A sub x is f applied over so i-separate mo yung dalawang terms na yan. So f applied over m minus huwag ka mag-substitute ng value. Suot mo as mg cosine theta over m. So mg cosine theta over m, or that simplifies to, so f applied over m okay. So ngayon yung slope, so on the a sub x, so ang a sub x yan yung y-axis. So a sub x-axis, and yung x-axis is f applied over m. Mag-gawin ka separate na graph. Dahil ibang ano na yan eh. Tapos burahin mo yung ano kasi hindi sila pareho. Okay, so ano, tingnan mo yung ano. So if you look at the equation for a sub x versus f applied, ano slope, ano intercept? Yung ano? Tingnan mo yung equation mo. A sub x is f applied over m minus g cosine theta. We're now graphing a sub x versus f applied. So kung ang y ay a sub x, sige, gawin mo yung, tingnan mo lang yung mangyayari. If y is a sub x and f applied is x, ano yung slope?
Okay, minus 9.8.
Ano yung intercept?
Iyan po. Negative,
So 8.49. Ngayon, graph. So when y is 0, x is equal to 8.49. Wait, ano slope? 1 over 8.5. 1 over 8.5 is positive. Tapos may 2.5. Next, hindi 1 yan. Ano yung value ng x na nagpapa-0 sa y?
0, so mga ano po, mga 8 ay, ano ba? 8.5 squared, mga ganun, 8 mga ganun doon. 49 times 8.5.
Look at your equation. Substitute y equals 0 and then work it out.
0.49 times 2.5.
Balik tayo sa equation. Paki-display. So, when y equals 0, you know,
Okay.
so F applied is 72.1 newtons. So, i-label mo yung axis. F applied axis yung x. Tapos acceleration, a sub x naman yung y-axis. So, dapat dadaan sa pag 72.1 yung x para mag-0 yung y. So, paki-mark. Okay, ngayon, ano yung graph ng acceleration versus F applied for this situation?
Okay, here, tapos mga 8.5 yung slope.
Look at your equation.
Intercept. Okay.
So, yung line, kung equation of the line, yan yung lalabas, di ba? And then ask yourself, alin dyan yung physically reasonable?
The acceleration will likely, tingnan po, by constant intelligence. So yung pag negative yung F applied, so pinapush na siya. Acceleration's negative. Ito ba yun?
Teka,
I mean, mas marami po.
in-analyze natin kanina yung acceleration kapag ang F applied ay less than 72.1, di ba?
Pag less than 72.1, amo.
Ano acceleration kapag less than 72.1?
Okay, so
Yan yung case kanina sa A and B.
Negative po yung acceleration.
Anong situation na 0 yung F applied?
Okay. So, kung 0 yung F applied when
Balik ka dun sa taas. Maling free body diagram yan. So, yung nag-a-apply dyan yung computation for parts A and B. And yung part C.
yan. So, F is greater than 72.1.
So, F applied is less than 72.1. What do we know about the acceleration?
It's not accelerating mo.
Okay, so ano value ng acceleration pag not accelerating?
0.
0. So if F applied is less than 72.1, acceleration is 0. If F applied is greater than 72.1, yung equation for the line na yun, that's now going to start to apply. Piecewise function yan eh. So may condition tayo dyan. F applied is greater than 72.1 when we set up that equation. Diba?
Amo.
So, yung graph ng acceleration versus F applied, that's only yung line na yan, that's only going to be true for F applied greater than 72.1.
Okay, so x is less than 72.1, tama. And then, saan yung iba ba? Ay,
Burahin mo na lang.
ayun. Yan. Oh, I forgot to use red pen. Yan, okay. Then, we have 0.
Wait. For F applied is less than 72.1. What's the acceleration uli?
0. Ah,
So
so
bakit
all
yan
of
yung graph?
this. So, basta right at 72.1, magiging 0 na siya. So,
Nag-accelerate
not
na siya.
included.
Wait, bakit ganyan? Function of F applied yan, di ba? When F applied is 30, ano yung acceleration? When F applied is 10,
0.
ano yung acceleration? So,
0.
yan, yung graph na yan ay, when F applied is 0, infinitely many possible accelerations.
Okay. Sige po. So, saan na? Dito yung 0.
Actually, tapos nag-extend pa yan for,
There.
di ba?
So,
Kasi
it's like this
yung acceleration kapag pulling yung F applied. At least until mag-break yung rope. Which we didn't consider. Ano yun eh. So later problems, may mga questions na yung breaking tension is going to be given. And then you're going to be asked ano yung nangyayari.
Okay. Sige po.
Okay? So, pansin mo no na yung kasi ano yan eh. Kaya importante yung ganito kasi yung common misconception ay paano kung yung applied force greater than yung 72? Ina-assume na yung rope magre-reverse, magiging pushing the block, which doesn't make sense. Ngayon, write down yung F yung tension versus F applied in piecewise form. Kasi may graph tayo. Ngayon, in equations, ano yan? Tension versus F applied.
Tension versus F applied. And
okay, when X is when F applied is less than or equal to, okay, what if hindi binigay yung values ng M at theta? So mg cosine theta. Tapos 0 when F applied is greater than mg cosine theta. Actually, dapat, ayan, so pwede na yan. Tapos ganun din, yung acceleration versus F applied. So, lagyan mo ng equal sign. Nawawala yung equal sign eh. Equals and then yung curly bracket.
so,
So we'll move to the left.
What happened? Kasi select ko na po siya, parang it doesn't move. It just like copies and cuts. Parang nagpo-produce po siya ng mga clones. Baka mo. Ayan,
Tama ba na mg cosine theta yung acceleration? We set up an equation for, di ba? For that case. Ayun. Di ba? Mukhang ang simple na problem, pero pag kinonsider mo na yung mga, what if? So, na-examine na, so na-examine na natin lahat ng, yung mangyayari kapag may applied force along the horizontal, or along X. Ngayon, paano kung yung applied force ay directly downward or directly upward? So, same situation, pero yung applied force ganito. So, copy natin, no? Tapos share ko. Okay, what if? So, okay, so ito, what if yung applied force ganito? There's a downward applied force. Or a force. So, what if there is an applied force pushing into the frictionless plane? So walang force along the horizontal. This time meron tayong walang force along the plane. Ang force natin ngayon ay you're pushing down into the plane. So F applied. Okay, so yung sa letter D, how do your answers okay, so sulat na natin yung F applied as F applied is equal to yung magnitude ng F applied times J hat. So ito yung J hat, ito yung I hat. Para kita natin. So how do your answers to A and B change when F applied equals 10 newtons? So 10 newtons downward. Kaya screenshot ko lang. And then we'll consider what if variable na yung F applied. So negative 10 newtons down along along the j-axis or along the y-axis. Okay. So, stop sharing na ako, no? Kasi na-send ko na yung question, di ba?
Ayun na po ayun na po manual stuff. So,
Pag natapos ka dito sa ano na to, dapat ma-start a new file. Kasi pag masyadong malaki yung mga files, nagso-slow down yan. Lalo na limited yung RAM mo. Yung sa akin kasi okay lang kahit malaki kasi 32 gigs of RAM yung meron ako eh. Okay na yan. New page na. Okay na. And then you can stretch. Into the frictionless plane. So, ganyan yung direction. So, free body diagram and then okay, pag ganyan yung situation, ano yung accelerations? So the rope is pulling up, gravitational force is pulling along, may component along the y, along the x and y. Assuming the rope is still not yet at its breaking point, ano yung acceleration?
Okay. So,
is this an equilibrium situation?
frictionless eh. So, by intuition po, dapat kung may friction, we'll stop it.
And then, remember, may rope, may gravitational force.
Okay.
So it should not be able to slide. Kasi the rope is providing resistance to sliding. Okay, tapos along Y, it's being pressed down into the surface. So, ang expectation natin, yung acceleration, hindi gumagalaw yung block na yan. Which means velocity is 0 and acceleration is 0. So this is so equilibrium situation pa rin yan. So it is assumed na zero acceleration. Okay, and set up the free body diagram, and then assuming equilibrium, what can you say about the normal force and the tension?
It's new free body drive. Uh-huh. I can discuss that. And then,
Okay, so ngayon, given in equilibrium yan, what do you get from F net is equal to 0?
F net is equal to 0.
So X components and Y components should give you 0 equals pag X components, and then 0 equals pag Y components. Okay, so from there, ano ngayon yung tension at ano yung normal force? So assuming F applied is 10 newtons.
Apply this 10 newtons. Okay, so kung F apply this 10 newtons, then 0. Forgot na to. Normal force. Ano ba?
Mm-hmm.
Normal force. Ito.
Hindi, solve for normal force. Huwag ka muna
Ah.
mag-substitute. F is equal to so 8.5 times 9.8 times okay. Tapos yung tension, so greater yung normal force kumpara sa kapag walang applied force. So let's interpret this. If the normal force is greater, so what's the normal force? The normal force is the force from the surface pushing upward. And that force increases if the applied force increases. Okay, so ngayon, yung tension, it's just going to be mg cosine theta. So pareho siya nung sagot natin kanina. Yung normal force greater. Okay, so yung sa letter E, what if F applied is treated as a variable? Graph normal force versus yung graph normal force. So paisulat lang to or type it in. So I think type na lang para mo yung question. So for letter E, hello?
Abo.
Okay, so paki-type. So, yan. So, for part E, okay, so, yan. Suppose F applied is treated as a variable. So F applied is not given. It's just a variable. Yan. So it's just a variable or is variable. Okay. Ngayon, graph F applied normal force versus F applied. So yung normal force, yan yung, or as a function of F applied. I think mas simple yung graph normal force as a function of F applied. So yung x-axis natin is F applied. Normal force yung magiging y. And will include negative values of F applied. So to be able to graph, you have to set up an equation for the normal force.
Normal force. Oh, yun na pala mo. mg sin theta. That's applied.
Okay, so if you graph that, anong lalabas na graph? Anong lalabas graph? So graph this. So gusto mo makita kung kailan nagsi-zero yung normal force. At saka yung so okay, so F applied is the x is the variable is yung magiging x. Normal force is yung magiging y natin. So yung intercept is so x intercept, y intercept
So pag substituted
so 8.5 times
65 plus
F applied. Or 42 plus F applied, di ba? So ngayon, if you graph that, anong lalabas?
so like it's just a linear graph. Like straightforward moving on. I'm mag-line. Line. I mean, like, for instance, was 21.5 siya. Number 7.
Okay. Ngayon, kailan mag-zero yung I think kailangan mong lakihan yung scale. Kaya magzi-zero yung F applied. Yung normal force.
Pag F applied is negative 41.65.
So, paki-label yon.
Label.
Okay. So, pati yung axis. F applied axis at saka yung normal force axis. Paki-label. Kasi yung mga axis dapat may labels yun di ba? What are you graphing? So that's going to be normal force, F applied. Okay, yung interesting na question dyan ay, okay, pag nag-zero yung normal force, ano ulit yung normal force? The normal force is the upward push of the floor to prevent the object from passing through the floor. Pag nag-zero yung normal force, anong nangyari? So what if, for example, negative 60, ano yung direction ng F applied pag negative yung F applied? On your free diagram.
Yung nag-zero po yung normal force dito sa 41/7. Pag sana naman siya, F8.
Ganito. F applied, when F applied is 0, normal force is 41.7. When F applied is negative 41.7, normal force becomes 0, di ba?
Oo.
When F applied is negative, ano direction nung F applied? Tingnan mo yung diagram ko. So, share ko ulit. Ito. F applied is negative. Ano direction ng F applied?
So, ngayon, F applied is going downward. So, nasa ano po siya, negative. Ano ba?
So, negative of something na going downward becomes?
Something G.
Ganito. Yung dinrawing ko, yan yung direction kapag positive yung F applied. Anong mangyayari sa direction ng F applied kapag sa vector na F applied kapag negative yung F applied? So kung kanina, we're pushing down.
So, pataas mo. Like, pulling up.
So pulling up na pag nag-negative. So tingnan mo uli yung equation at saka graph mo. So what happens kapag F applied is less than negative 42? Anong nangyayari sa normal force? Okay, if the normal force is positive, ano yung ginagawa ng force? It's pushing up. If the normal force is negative, the floor must be
so down. Okay.
Okay, so when normal force is negative, the floor is pushing or pulling into the floor.
is pushing, wait, into or out of the floor po. Kasi kung
Okay.
negative
So
po
pag
the normal
negative,
force,
yung normal force,
pulling out.
anong ano yung ginagawa ng floor?
Mm. Uh, mo. Normal force, ito yung floor, ito yung object. Ito yung normal
Mhm.
force na. Yes. So,
Okay.
if the object is pushing on if it's pushing on the floor, then normal force pulling out. So, kung if the normal force now is pushing
Hindi,
down
ganito. Remember, the normal force is the force exerted by what?
by by the surface of the floor.
By the surface. So if normal force is positive, then the surface is pushing out
Mm.
or pushing the object.
So, if
Paano
it's negative,
kapag ang normal force negative? Is the floor still pushing the object?
pulling na yata mo.
Pulling na. Ngayon, for floors like this, realistic na assumption ba yon?
No, because the floor can't move.
The floor can't pull, but the floor can push. Similar siya sa, ano yan eh, in this sense, similar yung floor sa tension. The rope can pull, but it cannot push. The floor can push, but it cannot pull.
So, ngayon po baliktad yung does not make sense na.
Okay, ngayon, given that the floor cannot pull, but the floor can push, how does that change your graph? So anong mangyayari kapag ang F applied ay less than negative 41.7? Di ba? Sabi natin, negative values of F applied mean the floor is pulling the object into itself, which is not possible. So what happens to the normal force kapag F applied is less than negative 41.7? Think about yung yung kanina, yung sa tension.
Okay. So, ngayon po, yung zero naman, pagka, when the normal force starts to get negative.
Okay, so hindi pwedeng mag-negative yung normal force, so dapat zero siya. Okay, so paki-graph. Ayan. So normal force versus F applied. Tapos ang assumption natin dito, F applied is downward, di ba? Yan yung directions. Magbabago yung shape niyan kapag yung in-assume natin na F applied is up. So kailangan clear ka dun sa convention na ginamit mo. Okay, so if F applied is less than negative 41.7, ano magiging motion ng object? So dapat mag-accelerate siya upward. Ngayon, panggulo yung chord. Kasi pag nag-accelerate na siya upward, magbabago yung angle ng chord eh. So, hindi natin i-consider muna in detail anong nangyari after umakyat siya. Okay na?
Opo.
Sige. Ngayon, so punta tayo dun sa next problem sa yung number 18. Basahin muna natin yung problem. So, let me share my screen again. Ito. And then let's zoom in. So let's do number 18. Kasi in some ways, similar sila. So, lagay ko sa 200. Ito. So in April 1974, okay, let me zoom in some more. Yan. John Massis of Belgium managed to move two passenger railroad cars. He did so by clamping his teeth down on a bit that was attached to the cars with a rope, and then leaning backward while pressing his feet against the railway ties. The cars together weighed 700 kilonewtons. Assume that he pulled with a constant force that was 2.5 times his body weight at an upward angle of 30 degrees from the horizontal. Neglecting any retarding force from the wheel rotation, find the speed of the cars at the end of the pull. Okay, so free body diagram for this. Yun muna. So, i-idealize natin si John Massis as a point. Kasi hindi pa tayo ready mag-handle ng extended objects. So, ano yung mga forces?
Nagka pala po, pagka nagka-extended, yung mag-iiba naman po yun. Mag-iiba na naman po yan.
Magiging mas complicated. Kasi, kailangan mo i-consider yung yung additional things like yung rotational forces. Yung pwedeng mag-rotate kasi si John Massis eh. So, aside from accelerating, may rotation pag extended. Kaya sa ngayon, panay point, tinitreat natin lahat ng objects as points. Okay, so John Massis, so ganito, draw a free body diagram for the railroad car. So treat the railroad car as a point. Ano forces? And then once you know those forces, ano naman yung anyway, so free body diagram. And then send ko lang yung screenshot mo na lang. So, so yung starting point nito ay free body diagram for the railroad cars. So, ano-ano forces acting on the railroad cars? Tapos, to check na nag-exist talaga sila, there should be a third law counterpart. And then, so identify mo, what's causing that force? Okay? Sige, tuloy natin to sa Thursday.
Yung ano po kasi, napapahirap po kasi, kung magaganito yung ganito po si whatever is doing. Pag ano po, 13 degrees. Tapos meron pang body weight na force.
Teka,
So,
yung angle na 30 degrees ay measured with respect to the cars.
Obo.
So unahin mo yung car. So, a railroad car treated as a point. So, ano-ano forces acting? So, may gravitational force na downward.
Tapos
May
meron pa
normal
siya
force.
normal force. Hinihila na po.
And then, yung pulling force from John Massis.
Tsaka friction po,
So,
kung frictionless ba? Or ano?
okay, frictionless.
Frictionless po siguro.
So, upward na gravitation na normal force. So, free body diagram. Upward na normal force from the floor or from the rails. Downward na gravitational force. Tapos, a force at an angle from John Massis.
Okay, so, dito.
So, normal force. And then from John Massis, ano yung force? So, assume natin Massis is pulling that to the right. Okay, so may angle, di ba? Nasaan yung angle? Okay, yan. So, label mo yan as F Massis.
Ano po yung spelling?
ASSIS or yan. Or FJ from force from John. Okay? Ngayon, i-analyze mo siya and then show me your work this coming Thursday kasi 7 something na eh. Okay? So we'll stop here. I'll see you again this coming Thursday. So Thursday, so 5 uli ano?
4 po. 4 ba po?
Teka, kung 4, kasi yung binayaran nung ano, di ba? That's only for this Thursday eh.
Papapadala po. Papapadala daw po.
Sige. Okay. Sige, so we'll meet at 4 p.m. Bye-bye.
Thank you po. Bye-bye po.